So let's go to the first match against Ken Shamrock. What happened there, Dan?
Well, again, that's where it was a very short-lived match.
Yeah.
A lot of people would not notice, but again, I was sick. I've done several of my matches where I've been either under the weather or partially injured, but because of the race promoters and promotions were billing me, I still showed up, and I just put forth the best effort that I could put forth. I always say that in that first match with Ken, I could have went one-on-one with a pillow, and the pillow would have won. But but again, I don't take that away. I mean, I shot it twice. He had me in a guilty choke the first time. I got out of it. I shot right back in again. Again, I'm not thinking straight because again, I'm sick, I'm lethargic. And, he caught me. He had it nice and deep. So, I mean, did I have to tap? Sure, I had to tap because he was crushing my esophagus and that. So, it's like going, come back and fight yet a different day. And, today it's his day. So, tap. And yeah, there you go. I think.
And for anybody that wasn't during that period of time, into the UFC, that was like a very highly anticipated matchup between you and Ken when that first happened.
The first time or the second time?
The first time. That was like a very highly anticipated thing because, Ken went and did that with Hoist, and then you came in and did that with Hoist, and you three were pretty much the pioneers of the UFC.
Well, yeah, I know. They were utilized our name there quite a bit with it in the beginning. Like I said, there's you got to give people a little bit more of the history again. You had Art Davey, who I definitely want us to write that down. He needs to be interviewed because he's the businessman, the brainchild behind that, and he brought in Jorge Gracie because he had heard of the Gracie Challenge and that, and he thought he'd be the great person to be the matchmaker. But to me, it's like going. The farm boy analogy is you don't let the fox inside the hen house there either. So, but Art Davey would be a great person to bring on just to tell the story of how he brought this all together. And he actually has some great pictures of showing this suspended cage, in the air above a moat of water that had, I think, alligators in it. So for theatrical aspects, but it's like going,
Go to the rematch between you and Ken Shamrock, which some have said was very lackluster, but people don't know what was going on in the background. Let's talk about what happened in that rematch, Dan.
Well, again, I'll just say that event took place in Detroit, and at the time, I'll say I don't know if it's the athletic commission or who was coming down upon the UFC, and actually the UFC to whether this event was going to even take place. And it wasn't until that, again, I don't remember if the event took place on a Friday. It must have been on Friday. That by around that 4 or 5 o'clock that day, Big John and the ownership of the UFC they were in court, and the fighters, stuff like that, we're just kind of waiting around to see, is this going to take place? And then it's going to take place, but underneath these guidelines. You're supposed to no closed fist type of actions. All got to be open hand because they're looking at bare knuckle fighting. There's all kinds of stipulations. I'll simply say that when John came into my little locker room type area, he's telling me about this. It's like going. He goes, and I go, well, what if this happens? He says, well, Severn, he goes, you'll be warned. I'm like, and again, I've got this rapport with Big John. Big John's got another one we need to get on. But Big John, I'm like, well, how many warnings do you get before any real violations or any points or something like that take care? He goes, Severn, he goes, you'll be warned. I go, so I happen to watch like the first match. And there's like, you're not supposed to do headbutts. And I think Kel Worsham was out there. He's like, headbutt. And Big John goes, warning. And headbutts again, warning. Headbutt again. Think, wow, I guess there's 3 strikes. And Kel Worsham still goes. Like, going, well, I think it's carte blanche here tonight. But it's like going, as I'm doing my own pre-fight type rituals and warming up, stuff like that, I'm still kind of pay attention to what's happening, what rules are being enforced or what not being enforced. So I just went out there and did what I did, but I had sort of a strategy. My strategy was to slow the match down. I wanted the audience to hate the match because I'm using professional psychology. If the crowd starts hating this match, how are you going to let that affect you? And to me, it's like going, I have nothing but time to kill it here, folks. And it's like going, and Ken was kind of always like a defensive counter fighter at that time. And so it's like going, I'm not going to be shooting at the end. I'm going to slow this action on down. I'm just going to circle and to a point that the crowd's going to get bored eventually. And they're going to start to boo and whatever. And it worked out just fine. I mean, to the point that Ken was actually talking to me. He's like, come on. I think it's a dude. I can bring it to you or you can bring it to me. I got nothing but time to kill here right now. So.